Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final workshop conducted by TCS for the CIMA Management Case Study August 2024 examination. So this is the final workshop in a series of workshops conducted by TCS targeting the preparation for the Management Case Study exam. And in this final workshop, the focus will be on exam preparation with giving you some last minute exam tips, and this will be followed by a Q&A session as usual, where you can raise any questions you have pertaining to the exam preparation. So it could be anything technical pertaining to the syllabus, or it could be anything to do with the exam that's coming up next week with regard to techniques as well as preparation. So first things first, maintaining confidence facing the exam is extremely important. You have done your work, and it's very important that you make sure during the last few days to the exam that you maintain confidence and you have the right mindset as well as the right preparation so that you can ace this exam. So we are going to look at two aspects with regard to exam preparation. Firstly, right before the examination. So basically, we are looking at the exam day and the day before the exam. It's very important that you rest your mind as well as your body. Make sure you get good sleep the day before the exam. There is a tendency to study, to revise, to go through all the material you have the day before the exam. But I urge you to resist that urge. You still have enough time. If your exam is on Wednesday, have a plan. Make sure by, say, Tuesday morning, you complete all your preparations so that Tuesday, you can make sure that you do not overwork. Give yourself sufficient rest so that your mind and body are fresh on the exam day to apply yourself for a 3-hour exam and to give your best. Because what happens is, if you overwork the day before the exam, you could feel tired on the exam day. And as you may know, unlike many other exams, the 3 hours require your focus. You need to read the scenarios, understand the scenarios, and construct points on the spot based on the scenario. So no matter how much you study the day before, it's those 3 hours that will determine how well you will score in the examination. So please have a study plan. Make sure whatever you want to cover is done at least a day before the exam so that you can give yourself sufficient rest before the examination. And on the exam day or right before the exam day, do not refer to study materials, mocks, or answer plans because you will feel overwhelmed. There could be a lot of study material, and you may feel a little bit overwhelmed with the content, and you may try to cover everything. And if you try to cover everything within a short span of time, you might get into a bit of a panic mode. So please avoid going through extensive study material closer to the exam so that you can remain calm and focused. And also just remember, you are being given a role of a finance manager in the company. I'm sorry about the blunder here. It's Flatthall, that is your company. So you are a finance manager in this fictitious company, and you should have that mindset as you prepare for the exam. Because remember, this is not like an academic examination. You have to apply yourself, and you have to make sure that your responses simulate a role which is assigned to you, that of a finance manager. And it's also possible that sometimes you get into a negative mindset. No matter how well you are prepared, you may feel like that you're underprepared, or you could feel that maybe you could have started a little earlier, or maybe you could feel like, okay, I could have practiced a few more questions, or you may feel like I could have revised the theory parts in little more detail. But remember, you did your best with the time you had, and it's not the time for you to get into a negative mindset. So let bygones be bygones, as they say. Just focus on what is controllable from now to the examination. So don't get into a negative mindset. It's not going to help. You still have enough time. If you feel negative about certain aspects, it could be maybe your knowledge on F2 or P2, or it could be with regard to attempting a mock or two. You still have a couple of days. Make sure whatever that could be bothering you is addressed within these 2 to 3 days, so that you will not feel stressed or negative about it closer to the examination. Yes, good to hear. Good to hear. I just saw the message in the chat. I'll open it up for a Q&A as well. And of course, be open-minded. So what do we mean by being open-minded? If you had come across questions in the mock examinations, just be open-minded that you could get similar questions, or you could completely get questions that you did not come across before. That's possible because we've seen at least one of the papers, the examiner becomes too creative with a development, and you may see that the exam is taking a route which you may not have anticipated. So it's best to be open-minded. Do not predict areas. Do not think, okay, this area has been tested, it may be tested again. So just be open-minded and just be prepared, so that you will not feel upset in the examination in case if you encounter areas or questions that you were not expecting. So just be prepared. Expect a tough paper. Expect questions that you did not prepare for. So if you have such expectations and if you go with an open mind, then you will adjust and you will perform better in the examination. Right, that's before the exam day and during the exam. This is also very important because all your preparation over the past few weeks or months could ultimately come down to how well you apply and execute your plans during these 3 hours. So once again, it's important that you stay calm and composed. So there is a recommended approach to the exam, that is 15 minutes of time for reading and answer planning, 13 minutes of time for typing answers. Now, let me make this very clear. This is the recommended exam technique by CIMA as well as by tuition providers. If you have been sticking to this approach, then you can stick to the same approach in the examination. But if you had taken a different approach, and if that approach had worked for you, do not try to change that approach 2 3 days before the examination. So we are assuming that most of the candidates had been preparing for the examination based on this technique. But if you were preparing in a different way, which worked for you, you are free to stick to that approach. But make sure that you devote sufficient time for reading the scenario as well as the requirements. Pay close attention to the words in the requirements, because there can be sometimes two requirements within one subtask. For instance, it could be identify and evaluate the risks and recommend risk mitigation strategies. So in that case, you should be able to spot the fact that there are two sub-requirements there, and you should make sure when you're planning your answer, you come up with points addressing both requirements. And it's also important that you correctly understand the requirement. For instance, let me refer to an example from a recent mock examination that we had. The requirement was to discuss how we can determine whether a particular leadership style is suited or not. How we can determine. But the candidates had misunderstood that the question is about leadership styles, and then they had gone on explaining about different styles. So it's very important that you understand the question requirement correctly. Do not presume it. So that is why CIMA suggests 1/3 of your time should be devoted to understanding the requirement and planning your answer. and thereafter you can spend the rest of the time typing your answers. So it doesn't matter if you slightly deviate from this approach, but please make sure that you understand the requirement correctly and you construct your points accordingly. And it's normal in a 3-hour examination when you're sitting in one place. It could be a new environment for you if you're doing it at an exam center. If it's your first experience in that exam center, it's possible that sometimes maybe you're not very comfortable with looking at that particular monitor, or you're not very comfortable with the seating arrangement. Maybe the chair is not very comfortable, or maybe the air conditioning is not appropriate, not what you're used to. So when you're going through 3 hours in a new environment and in an environment where your performance is being assessed, it's normal for a candidate to feel a little stressed or sometimes stuck during the examination. So it's very important that you get over the exam stress and you get back to the mode of writing your responses according to what you had planned and understood. So if you feel a little stressed or stuck, it's okay to take a minute, calm down. That's fine. Relax and breathe slowly, because when you take a break, when you breathe slowly, you're actually helping your body and mind settle down. You're pumping in a little bit of oxygen, and it helps to calm down. And especially if you feel stressed or stuck, just remember the candidate sitting next to you may be typing at a pace, and you might be hearing those. And it's normal for a candidate to feel a little stressed and worried. Okay, goodness me, I'm reading, I'm thinking, but all the candidates around me are going on typing. So just shut that outside noise, stick to what has worked for you, and just calm down. Some examination centers actually allow you to use earbuds, where you can close down the exam center noise, especially that of typing. Especially when you have keyboards which make a little bit of noise, you might hear the other candidates typing, and that could distract you a little bit. We've also seen candidates, not well prepared candidates, they just read the question for 5 minutes and then straight away they start typing the answers. So a candidate who is used to reading and planning the answer might start wondering, okay, am I too slow? Or am I going to have a time management issues because the candidate sitting next to me has already started typing the answer? Now, it's very important to shut these distractions and focus on what you have prepared for. So just take a minute, relax a little bit. Don't worry about what the others are doing. And if your exam center allows, take a sip of water. That also pumps a little bit of oxygen to your blood flow. So naturally, your brain will feel a little bit of a positive energy. And just make sure if this is allowed in the exam center, because some exam centers do not allow a water bottle to be kept alongside you. So you need to be mindful of that as well. And you have to back yourself. You have to uh, give yourself the confidence. You have to keep telling yourself that you have done the best you could with the time you had. Obviously, no one goes with 100% preparation for the exam. Absolutely no one. Everyone has a study plan, and no one actually sticks to the study plan 100%. Maybe your preparation is 80%, 70%. That's fine. You could only do so much. You have done what you could as a normal human being. Of course, there might have been a bit of a slack here and there, might have been some lack of discipline here and there. You might have not, completed the tasks as you wished, but that's all gone. And now you have no control over the past. So focus on the 3 hours, focus on each subtask. You have 45 minutes. You have 2 or 3 subtasks to answer within those 45 minutes. You may have a task or two which are difficult. That's fine. That's normal. You won't find all the subtasks easy and comfortable. Exams are designed in such a way that you have these challenging subtasks. So understand that's the reality. And before the exam, as well as in the exam, just do what you can do as your best work. So you have two subtasks. If you feel like subtask B is where you are more comfortable, that is where you can come up with a good response, you start with subtask B. Get the points in, get the answer, and that will boost your confidence. And that confidence could help you tackle the other subtask, which you thought is difficult, in a bit of a positive way. And you need to tell yourself, look here, at the end of the day, what matters is whether you are able to score 80 marks out of 150. It's just look at it from this perspective. It's 80 out of 150. You don't need 70 marks in the paper to pass the examination. In other words, you just need 54% of the overall marks. So no matter how hard the examination is, no matter how hard the questions are, no matter whether an F2 area which you weren't expecting, it appears in the first section itself. First section, first subtask, a difficult area, a ghost area that you fear. That's okay. It's just one subtask. Take out the marks for that. You would still have, let's say, 135 or 130 left for you to score the minimum 80 marks that you need for a pass. So you need to back yourself. You are going to get these 80 marks. And you're not actually looking at a perfect answer to get the 80 marks. As long as you develop a decent answer, you can score these pass marks. So always keep a positive mindset. Keep backing yourself to get these 80 marks at least. That's not to say that you can't score 100 or 110 plus, but as the worst case scenario, you should at least back yourself to get these 80 or the 54% of the total marks. And no matter how hard the exam is, the only controllable factor is what you can give during the exam, and try to give your best shot. That's all matters. We all have different preparations. Some of you may have had more time, some of you may have had less time. Some of you may be really good at typing answers, some of you might be really good at understanding the scenario and identifying points, but not fast enough to type all those points. So we all have our pluses and minuses. So within your capabilities, try your best and give your best in the examination. And be open-minded. If you sit for the examination with a mindset, I must pass this exam, it's a do or die situation, I must get through it this time. Well, if you put yourself under that added pressure, then let me tell you, you're not going to give your best shot. So just forget about the result. Just get into the exam thinking that, okay, it's a 3-hour exam. It's like another mock exam. I'll do my best. If it's a pass, I'll be happy. Even if it's a fail, I'll accept it and move on. That's life. So just go with an open mind. Don't think about the result. Think about your output. Just do what you can. And that would be good enough for you to pass the examination. Because we've also seen sometimes some candidates very closer to the exam, they register. And they feel like, okay, never mind. I have only a couple of weeks, or I have only 3 weeks. I'll just do what I can. And sometimes they accept the fact that, okay, the time is not enough. I'm not going to be too harsh on myself. If I fail, I will do next time. I'll just give it a try. So when you ease your mindset, accepting the fact that the results could go either way, we've seen such candidates pull off a pass. And even they are surprised as to how did I manage to pass. The reason is they lowered their expectations. They didn't take any stress of achieving a particular result. They just got into the exam with a free mindset. Okay, I'll just give it a go. If I pass, that's great. If I don't pass, well, I was prepared for it when I registered for the exam just 3 weeks before. So when you go with that free mindset, it allows you to calm down and it brings your best effort out. So it's very important that no matter what has happened in the last few weeks or months, you just focus on what you can do and back yourself to get these 80 marks out of 150. So these are the key points to remember. And also, if you're doing the exam from home, just make sure that you pick the right place. Your internet connection should be stable. And sometimes those who are in countries where you may experience power failures, just have a backup plan. If you think your office has a backup power generator, or you have a UPS system which can give you a little bit of leverage in managing a power failure situation, go for that option. Don't take chances. Make sure the laptop or the PCs are plugged in, fully charged. So please make some effort in terms of managing these contingencies if you are actually sitting for the exam uh, from your home or from a remote location. And those who are actually sitting for it in the exam center, no harm just finding out about the exam center in advance. Just have a look at how much time it will take to reach the exam center, what's the appropriate plan to travel. Sometimes there could be traffic, so you need to actually plan for it in a little advance, and just try to avoid these last minute issues affecting your exam preparation. And also, if you encounter any technical issues during the exam, for instance, if you're doing the exam from home, there could be a situation where uncontrollable situation, there's a power failure, and maybe your laptop also runs out of battery, or your UPS runs out, or maybe the internet connection is all of a sudden not stable. So CIMA has an option, special consideration, where if a candidate is unable to complete the examination due to factors which are beyond the control of the candidate, you will be provided with an opportunity to retake the exam in the following week. So that's a contingency window for the examination. So don't worry, don't feel stressed. If you encounter such issues, you can always raise those issues with CIMA after the examination. So don't panic if you encounter such situations. And even in the exam center, you could encounter situations like that. It's possible. So once again, there's a special consideration procedure where if you are not allowed to complete the exam, you will get your chance to do it in the following week. Or you did manage to complete the exam, but there were issues along the way. Say, for instance, your screen was stuck for 5 minutes and then it resumed. You were able to complete the exam, but you had a distraction for 5 minutes. You can file a special consideration application. So in that case, you need not reattempt the exam. But of course, that issue you faced during the exam will be taken into consideration during the marking process. So there are alternative arrangements. So do not worry about those while sitting for the exam. Just do what you can during the exam. And after that, you can look at what is the appropriate course of action to address or to seek some redress from CIMA for the particular issue that you encountered. So these are some basics with regard to preparing and facing the examination. I'll open up the session for a Q&A, and if you have any questions pertaining to exam prep or with regard to any technical preparations or whatever, you can raise it up during this period of time, and I'll pause the recording to facilitate the discussion. So I hope I was able to respond to your questions as best as I could and within time constraints. But if you still have any more questions, do reach out to us especially the WhatsApp group could be very helpful and productive, and some questions could help all members of the group, get some clarity and help them with their preparations too. So with that note, we would like you to also refer to the short clips that we have uploaded in YouTube as well as TikTok, which summarize the pre-scene for you. And of course, we will reshare these in the WhatsApp groups, but we have a summary of the key points from the pre-scene, in YouTube Shorts as well as in TikTok. So that could help you recap the key points of the pre-scene closer to the exam rather than trying to read through the entire document. So on that note, thank you all of you for joining with us today as well as throughout the series of webinars that we conducted. Hope it helped you in some way. And we also ask you to recommend to your friends the webinar series. If they are planning to take up the exams in November, we will have the same 7-week study plan webinars each week. So hopefully you will recommend these to your friends also so that they could benefit from this. So thank you all of you for your support and your feedback. And most importantly, we wish you all the very best from Team TCS with regard to exam coming up in the next week. So be positive and be confident. Forget about preparations that may not have gone your way. Just focus on the controllables and make sure you give your best, and I'm sure you can pull this off. So all the very best, guys, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you, and best wishes going forward.